go ahead and start. The special board meeting of July 20th, 2023 is called to order at 6:31 p.m. Can I get roll call, please?
Awesome here. That's not good. Well, you have here.
Brianna Texoni here. And if you'll notice, Mr. Tim Jorgensen is not present. He did submit his resignation to the board and he resigned as of June 30th. So I just want to thank Tim for all of his hard work, everything that he's done. He's been a huge part of our school district and our school board and our Vasquez High School family. So I just wanted to say thank you to Tim and let everybody know that we did receive his resignation as of June 30th. 1C special board meeting agenda. It's recommended the board approve the special meeting agenda for July 20th, 2023.
I'll move. Sorry.
We have one amendment on the special board meeting agenda. We have the points. Resolution 2023-2002, section 3 was amended. Originally included a list reporter, amended to reflect the resignation of Mr. Tim Jorgensen, trustee. I too would like to add a couple of comments, if I may, really quick. Generally appreciate Mr. Jorgensen's dedication and unwavering commitment to the students of our district and to the community as a whole. Thank you, Mr. Jorgensen.
Okay, thank you. Discussion? Call for question. All those in favor?
Cost and I. That's going. Well, you have by.
Brianna Texoni, aye. 2A closed session discussion items. Conference with labor negotiators, public employee discussions, discipline, dismissal and release, conference with legal counsel and or student matters. To be adjourned to closed session, the board will consider and may act on any of the closed session matters listed in agenda 5A. Can I get a motion?
I'll move. Sorry.
Any discussion? Call for question. All those in favor?
Cost and I. That's going. Well, you have by.
Brianna Texoni, aye. The board is adjourned to closed session at 6:34 p.m. Okay, the special board meeting of July 20th, 2023 will reconvene at 7:30 p.m. 3A flag salute tonight. Our flag salute will be led by Mr. Jeremiah Owen, who is the president of our Acton Town Council.
Ready? Again. I like
and to the republic and one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. 3B civility statement will be read by Ken Pelscraft.
In conducting the district's business, we will strive to communicate clearly and concisely with respect for the time of others, listen objectively, carefully considering the opinions of others, understand the counterproductive effects of disruptive, meeting, and intimidating behaviors, understand and respect district policies and procedures, and maintain a respect for the rich history of the district and the efforts of those who have served in the past.
Thank you. 4A public business from the floor. Tonight we have one speaker card, Mr. Jeremiah Owen. You can go ahead and step up to the mic. If you can just say your first and last name in the microphone, that would be great.
Jeremiah Owen, on behalf of the Acton Town Council. Board. Lieutenant. Just here tonight, on behalf of the Acton Town Council, as you may know, we are facing a possibility of some battery storage, large scale coming to Acton. And we've been under the impression and understood that they have reached out or will reach out to various community organizations looking to garner some favor to be able to go through a state expedited process. So the town council would just like to respectfully request that if it was ever considered, ever brought on and considered, that we'd have an opportunity to have a conversation with the board before a decision was made. And so I just have a formal letter for the president. Approaching.
Thank you.
So just appreciate your time and consideration of that. Thank you guys for all you do for ensuring our community has a great school system and lots of opportunity for children to have the best education possible. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we will have that reflected in the minutes. Thank you.
5A report of action taken in closed session. The board will report any action taken in closed session as required by law. The board has taken action in closed session to approve staff recommendation for the expulsion of student number 2061. The vote was unanimous. 6A, resolution number 2033-24.01, establishing procedure for the appointment of a provisional board member. It's recommended the board review resolution 2023-24.01 for the appointment of a provisional board member. It's staff recommendation for the board to approve a provisional appointment for the governing board member, Mr. Tim Jorgensen's vacant seat, for 1 year until November 2024. At that time, the seat will be up for a new 4-year term to be filled at its regularly scheduled election. Can I get a motion?
I'll move. Second.
Anything to add, Dr. Salkian?
Just a resolution establishes procedures for the appointment of a provisional board member.
All right, we'll go ahead with discussion.
The only question I have for the superintendent is we have a appointment. No, I'm sorry. During appointments, is just a majority vote? Is there any provisions for a tie? Or if there is a tie and there's no there's no you can't come to a majority vote, does it just die? That's the question. Because I went to the bylaws today looking for what is a tiebreaker, how do you break a tie, and there was absolutely zero. So I just like clarification on that.
Just to answer your question, is the majority vote of the CS trustees to make that majority vote. In terms of a tie, I have to look into that. I don't have an answer for you at this time, Mr. Costa. I apologize.
I would say that, give me 1 second. I would say that, let's frame this, that this is a resolution for the board to determine if we're gonna appoint. There is also a resolution for holding a special election. Okay, so I think it would be best if we were to hear a discussion about the second one as well. So I'll offer my comments about if there's an appointment. But first I'd like to say, Tim Jorgensen came in elected. Tim Jorgensen served this community in many ways. He was a teacher, a coach, highly involved in things. Kids loved him. He was the kind of person that will walk up to a kid and say, why are you doing that to yourself? Why not so much, don't embarrass us or anything like that. He was a union rep. He was a great union rep. I sat out in the audience for 5 years before I got up here. He would live at the schools if you'd let him. He will be very hard to replace because he brought a lot of institutional knowledge. And plus, he was involved in mentoring new teachers, and he still does that now. So I would hope that if someone's going to try to fill that position, that they would take a couple of moments and contemplate, what am I walking into? It is extremely difficult, and I'm speaking for myself. I sat out there for 5 years before I put my hat in the ring. And when you're sitting in the audience, you're not on the board. Some people think that, we get 3 or 4 people raising hell in the community and be loud, we're the board. You're not on the board. When the county tells you that you have majority vote, then you are on board. We are a governmental body. We are not an advisory commission. Everything we do is governed by the law, education law. And some people just have a really hard time with that. But if you sit out there for 5 years, you are going to get the business that's coming at you as it happens, the LCAPs, the first interim, the second interim, all these different things. Very little of it is stuff that you have any leeway. It's just a recommendation to superintendent. People come on the board, have a very rough time. Like my first superintendent, he resigned 10 minutes before I got on the board, so I didn't have a chance to know him much. But it's very hard to drop in here doing a great deal of experience out there, because when you go back there, the whole world changes. It changes rapidly. We haven't had a lot of people sitting out there that know the basic function. Now, the Newhall School District, and it's not an endorsement of the Newhall School District, but you know that when they have an election cycle coming up, they have a candidate for them, and anybody can come to it. And it's just basically people come in and they go through a governance session, an informal governance session. They talk about board member roles and responsibilities. It's not the same kind of thing we had from Ron, but it concerns me that people come in and it's basically a popularity contest. And my first problem would be, how many times have I seen you in the audience? And how are we going to bring you up to speed to even make basic decisions where you're not getting your sea legs trying to, because it's very difficult when you're sitting up here at first and you really don't know what's going on, and you kind of feel inside like, I'm not adding anything, I'm not participating, I'm not being efficient, and that's very difficult. So I would say this: if you're going to entertain putting somebody up here through a process, this, I like you and you like me stuff, it's not going to work for me. I'm going to want to know what you know, what you think you can add, what kind of those things. I thought I've been through a couple of appointment exercises of a fiasco. It sounded more like a county fair judging than anything. It was embarrassing. So I would like to see that if we were going to appoint someone, number one, we need to get something out there for people to be able to feel like I can attend something, I can know what I'm getting into, and I can come on with a basic level of competence rather than having, scratch for my position up here, make, politicize everything, so. I would strongly suggest that the board, if we choose, instead of having an election, that we make some type of a day session or something for people to know what we're getting into. Son, you are late. Anyway, guys, I'm just saying, I'll welcome anybody up here, because anybody that wants to sit up here is half crazy to begin with. But I appreciate people who want to serve the community and the students, and I don't want to have it be a popularity contest. I like people to stand up here with confidence, tell us who they are and how they think they can make all of us better, because we're certainly not as good as we can be. That's all I have to say. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you. I don't have discussion on this item, but I do. Can you mention that you wanted to hear the next item before we,
We have to
Make the
pick
vote.
one or the other, right?
so can we move the other one in at the same time and hear so that we can discuss the other one before voting for this?
I would suggest that we close discussion on this one. And table it, for discussion during this meeting and entertain, open the next one and make similar comments and do whatever we do. So I will move that we close discussion on the resolution for the appointment of a provisional board member. Second.
Okay, I'll second that. All those in favor?
Now to reopen it after we have a discussion on the B
6B.
resolution, okay? So call the question.
Let me be clear, your motion is we're gonna close it and then reopen it.
Yes, yeah,
We're gonna close it so that we can open the other one, discuss that one. We'll close that one and then we'll vote.
We're coming back.
Correct.
Tonight,
we're gonna have to call
Yes.
for a vote on one
Yes.
or two. And
or the option is the table vote until we have all the information.
we don't have a lot of time for that anymore.
So the vote, there's a motion and a second, and the vote is to stop discussion on this and reopen it after discussion on 6B. So that's what we're voting on.
Right,
6B, resolution number 2023-24.02, ordering a special election to fill a governing board vacancy and providing specifications of election. It's recommended the board review resolution 2023-24.02, ordering a special election to fill a governing board vacancy and providing specifications of election. I'll go ahead and move that one in.
and I will second moving in the discussion. of
Okay,
that.
so we will go, Dr. Smirkin.
Just a brief comment, if it is voted in for special election, the election shall be held on Tuesday, March 2024. To fill the vacancy left by Mr. Jorgensen.
And we'll start with discussion, Tom.
So the election will be March of next year, so there is quite a bit of time. Correct.
I understand that we're voting to put these resolutions in place, we have rules to govern whatever decision it's going to be. Right? Okay. I'm just curious, and what is the approximate cost of a special election to us?
Typically speaking, there is a cost processing and all that, it's about 60,000 on average.
I have no further discussion on this item.
Okay, so. This is $60,000. That means that 6 kids walk in the door the first day of the school year. We take that money and we hold a special election. And leave Kevin to try to figure out how to. And the reason it's so expensive is because you can't blend costs with the other elections. So the preferable thing is that people are put on the board by an election. That way we know who the public wants, not a vocal minority. And so that is the desired way to do this. my question and my understanding is that if you have a special election, that fills the seat until the November election, and then you do it again. Or does it fill the seat for the entirety of the term?
The former until November election.
So we would spend $60,000 to have someone try to figure out what's going on during April, May, and June, and then come back. And during that time, we know everybody that is going to be running for election starts campaigning up here, or whatever day they started. It's disgusting, it's in March, you know. Yeah, so it's about ADA, really. Now, the attractive thing to this to me for that is that, as Tom said, that's quite a bit of time. That's enough time to figure out who's gonna start showing up here and doing the work. That candidate pool is really big right now. It also gives people a lot of time. But again, it's $60,000 of our kids' money. That's a hard one for me to swallow. So, I just want to make sure everybody understands the cost and the length of service you would get for that cost. Now, you could have a filing period if someone files, or two people file, or no one files. I believe that it negates the cost of the election, which would put us back to appointing someone. There didn't seem to be a plethora of candidates this last election. I don't know what would happen, but I'm not big on the $60,000.
My question would be if. Never mind, I just want to ask that. I don't have any comments. So I'm gonna go ahead and motion to close this discussion.
I will second that.
And all those in favor of closing discussion 6B?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, now we will go back to 6A and we will, we'll go ahead and motion to, approve, which is a staff recommendation to approve the provisional appointment for the governing board member, Tim Jorgensen's vacant seat for 1 year until November of 2024. At that time, the seat will be up for a new 4-year term to be filled at its regularly scheduled election. So I will motion to approve the resolution.
So we should motion to open it up for discussion again, if there is any, if you're gonna cycle through. And then I will second opening it back up for a point of order. Now we're at the point where at the end of this discussion, we will take a vote and it will either pass, it will tie, or it will die on the vine. If it passes, we have no discussion on the second one. If it's a tie, we have discussion on the second. Okay.
If we don't have an appointment, it's gonna be 1 year, we're gonna sit here with 4 chairs, is that correct? Probably. All the way
I don't
until,
think that's legal. I don't do that.
well, if we have a special election, it stays open, correct?
Right.
Okay, so we're now in March of 2024, and that person is seated in January, or is that correct? Or when is that? The election is on March, so they're gonna come in around June-ish, be seated.
If the election is in March, they are seated right after the election. Immediately before the
Okay,
election.
so we are 8 months operating.
Yes, and then so April 2024, they would be seated, and then that term is still up at the end of 2024 and would be running again.
So let's say we do an appointment, and just running through scenarios. We go through the appointment process and there is no consensus. That means we fall into a special election, right? So if we're going to do an appointment process, we need to put some kind of timeline. That was already established.
We do have a timeline that's put forward by the county and by NACO. We have until August 26th to make that appointment. August 26th.
That's a pretty quick push. That's all I have.
I have no discussion.
I'm good.
I have no more discussion. So we will go ahead and vote on the approval for, the resolution number 2023-24.01.
So once again, point of order. We've had what you're calling the question. If the vote is unanimous, 3-1, that sets what we're doing in stone in terms of resolution. To a point, it doesn't move on to then holding a special election. It does save the district $60,000 if there isn't tonight, or not enough votes to carry the day. Then and only then when we move into voting on the resolution for a special election. Perfect.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. So the vote is unanimous. It will be, we'll fill the board position. We'll fill the board position, through the appointment and not a special election. 7A calendar, the first regular board meeting of 23-24 school year is August 10th, 2023. 8 adjournment. It's recommended the board adjourn the meeting at 7:51 p.m.
I hate doing this, but point of order. There are some things that everybody needs to know. This needs to be advertised in the newspaper. Again, I made the strongest suggestion. Please find a way to let people know that on this day, there will be an attorney at the expense of the district giving, or at minimum, you show them the link to the training we had, and make sure that people have the opportunity to kind of figure out, yeah, this is what I want to do, and this will be a very professional thing. We're here to find help. We're not here to replicate each other and all that. So there's a lot of people out there that put a lot of time in to the students and the kids in this town. There's a bunch of them out there who will find something good, and I do appreciate the board members deciding not to spend $60,000 tonight. Thank you very much.
Sure. Tom?
Yes, we're on the schedule. We're only gonna have one meeting when we're gonna have to make this appointment to meet that schedule. Our next meeting date is.
You can call a special meeting.
Right, I think that may be necessary because we're gonna be on a really tight time.
Oh, yeah.
Well, let Dr. Sahat answer that.
So we do have a timeline, thank you, Ms. Taxoni, through August 26th to actually have the appointment. But to conduct the appointment and for the interview per se, that's a special meeting that should be conducted in the month of August, prior to August 26th.
If you're considering that schedule, I will not be here the week of the 7th.
I would suggest that we do not make an appointment without the full board. Yeah,
I agree with that. You should schedule it when you're here.
and I don't care if we have a meeting, you know, the day before. We need to give people time.
So the district will put out the application process, about the information, contact the newspaper, do all the things to make sure everybody knows our timeline.
Correct, Ms. McCauley will handle that, and then we'll go ahead and make sure that we add the board presentation to our website as well for accessibility. This one, Wayne Carter's presentation that was done about a month and a half ago. And then we'll be sure that we get media involved as well with the applications and the link to the presentation from this one.
Thank you.
There is some material that went around about the board members involving themselves. I don't believe that Mr. Jorgensen has any role to play in this. Is that correct? Yeah.
Is there any further discussion? Okay, we are on We're on 8A adjournment. It's recommended the board adjourn the meeting at 7:55. Can I get a motion? Call for question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Bye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.